then I don't know what I'll say when I come up to talk. But meanwhile, talk to you guys. Say hello to all my cousins that are here. I have a lot of cousins in 8th grade. At least 2 that I know. 3. Maybe 4. Hello, everybody. So, once upon a time, well, I want to give congratulations to Rabbi Greenbaum, Educator of the Year, or something like that, yes. It's no small deal to be introduced by him. Once upon a time, there were a few bachrim from Yeshiva in Morristown, New Jersey, that were in 770. And as they're standing there talking to each other, and there was an old chassid whose name was Reb Abba. And this old chassid, for some reason, took upon himself to be not only one of the Alter Chassid in 770, but also to be the custodian in 770. And so he happened to be mopping the floor. And as he's mopping the floor, the mop brushed up against the legs of one of the bachrim, against his pants. It's annoying. And the bachrim made some kind of a joke to his friend about this old chassid who walked funny and was mopping the floor in 770. Anyway, they forgot about it. They went back to Yeshiva in Morristown, whenever they went back. And a few days later, the Mashpia in Morristown, Rabbi Eli Friedman, held a fabrengen with the bachrim. And at the fabrengen, he was asking them, what is the definition of a chassid? Now, the Rabbi had been there at the scene when this incident with the mop took place. So he's saying to the bachrim, what is a chassid? People talk about, I'm a chassid, you're a chassid, he's a chassid, she's a chassid. What is a chassid? It depends how long your beard is, how long your jacket is. It depends how long your report card list of A's or Aleph. So what makes a chassid? So after discussing it for a little bit, the guy, the Melech, the Mashpia said, I'm going to tell you a story and you'll know what a chassid is. Life in Russia, for the Lubavitchers in particular, was something that we Californians, thank God, cannot begin to imagine. You can't begin to imagine, we have to imagine. Imagine if you never knew which of your friends, and don't start pointing them out now, but imagine if you never knew which of your friends that you were sitting and chatting with was actually a spy for the KGB. Okay, go ahead, point it out. And with absolutely a complete Lubavitcher, not some kind of a stranger from the outside, but a real Lubavitcher chassid, and at the same time, a spy for the KGB, meaning that on a weekly basis, he or she would go to the KGB's offices and would repeat to them everything that was discussed in their presence. And in Lubavitch, in Russia, the Lubavitchers knew that that was the reality. And you never ever knew who you were talking to, whether they were honest friends or whether they were working for the secret police. And the Lubavitchers very often would be shocked to find out who it is that has been the latest discovery that they're actually working for the KGB, and everybody stopped talking to them. But it was a meshugah of life because you never knew who it was. So if you were discussing a letter that you received from the Rebbe, from the previous Rebbe, about setting up a mikveh or a cheder, and you were talking about it with your friend, and another friend came and started talking to you, you had to stop talking about it because you didn't know if that third friend was responsible to report you to the KGB. In fact, even talking about it to your first friend was dangerous because you didn't know if he was responsible to report you to the KGB. There were stories of parents reporting their own children, children reporting their own parents. It was a crazy life. Absolutely crazy. One day, the KGB came to a certain town. And they approached a certain chassid. They pulled him into the police car and they took him to the KGB headquarters. And they said to him, they said, "We have good news for you. Your boring life is over, now you work for us." And he said, "What do you need me to do?" They said, "Not much. You just need to come here every Friday and tell us what's happening in your Lubavitch community." Because the Russian government knew that Lubavitch was not one of the communities that just sat by and wasn't involved in making things happen. They knew that Lubavitch, because of the Rebbe, was actually behind a lot of the problems that the KGB was having with yeshivas and Cheders and underground Yiddishkeit taking place, which they were trying to eradicate, and Lubavitch was behind a lot of the problems. They said, "You don't have to do much, you just have to come every Friday and tell us what's going on in the Lubavitch community." Okay, he said, all right. He went home, came back next Friday. I'm sorry, he didn't show up on Friday to the headquarters. So on Shabbos or Sunday, the KGB came to him, picked him up, took him to the police, to the headquarters, and they said to him, "Shto takoi? Where were you? You were supposed to be here on Friday." And he said, "You know what? When you guys picked me up, you picked me up in public. Everybody saw that I got picked up by the KGB. So now nobody talks in front of me. I don't have anything to say to you." So they said, "Really? You don't have anything to say to us? Is that so? Okay, come with us." They went downstairs to the basement. The KGB had taken over a bank building. So in the basement there was a safe. The safe was a very, very big safe, like as big as a room. And the door to the safe was as big as a regular door. One of the big, heavy steel round door. And they took him to the safe. And they put his arm in the doorway and they slammed that steel door on his arm. And they broke it. And they said to him, "Maybe next week, Friday, you'll have something to say to us?" And he said, "Maybe." The next Friday, he didn't show up. So they picked him up, they brought him back, and he says to them, "Guys, now you picked me up twice in front of everybody. Now, not only people don't talk in front of me, people don't even want to come near me. Everybody knows that I'm an informant for the KGB. Why did you do that for? Now I have nothing to tell you." They said, "You have nothing to tell us? Okay." And they took him downstairs and they broke his other arm. And then the next week they broke his right leg, and the next week they broke his left leg. They broke both of his arms and his legs. And every time he says to them, "I have nothing to say to you." So finally they said to each other, the KGB said to each other, "This guy's a maniac, this guy's a crazy man. He's not normal, he's not worth pursuing him as a spy because he's not stable. I mean, this guy's crazy. Well, how many bones we should break in his body until he realizes that we mean it? He's obviously not normal." So they decided they're giving up on it, forget about him, and they stopped chasing after him. And of course, he knew a lot of what was going on in the community. He could have told them everything. He could have told them who was the connection to the Rebbe. He could have told them who's collecting money for the Rebbe, because in every community there was somebody collecting money. He could have told them everything. But he didn't tell them anything. He didn't tell them anything even when they break his bones. So the Mashpia says to the Bachrim, he says, a man who's willing to suffer so much pain so that his friends shouldn't suffer at all, that is a chassid. And you know who that man was, he says to them? Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba. He was reprimanding them for making quick judgments about a person who doesn't look exactly normal and not taking 1 second to think that perhaps one of the reasons why he looks like he looks is maybe because he sacrificed both arms and both legs so that he shouldn't have to hurt his friends. And his message to them was, if Abba's mouth brushes up against your pants, you should consider yourself lucky. You should only be so lucky. Such a great man. So, a few months ago, a guy came back from a war, a United States Army veteran, came back from the war in Afghanistan. And his grandparents lived in Calabasas. And we were friends before he left. And so when he came back, we were talking. And actually, he put out tefillin every day while he was over there, which is amazing. And he wasn't over there as a chef. He wasn't packing lunches for the soldiers. He was a fighter, and he was involved in many fights, and he never missed a day of putting on tefillin. In fact, on Pesach, he did everything that he could to have a Cheder. Not a frum guy, I mean, not what we would call a frum person, but a very frum person. Make sure to have a Pesach Cheder, however the best way that he could. Anyway, very, very good man. So we're talking about the fact that he comes now from a place of war. He's coming from a battle zone. And he's coming back to the United States of America, where life is very quiet. And I asked him, how hard is it to make that change from life in war to life in peace? And he said, every soldier has a different problem. Every soldier who comes back has a different experience, has a different struggle, a different challenge. He said, but for me, in particular, the hardest challenge is the loss of a sense of urgency. When you're at war, every minute is urgent. Every minute is an emergency. You come back to peace, and absolutely nothing is urgent. It doesn't matter. In war, the choice whether to turn right or to turn left is a choice between life and death. In peace, it makes no difference whatsoever. It makes no difference if you choose to go this way or that way. It makes no difference if you go forward or backward. It makes no difference. Nothing makes a difference. It makes no difference if you're paying attention, if you're not paying attention. Nothing matters. When you're at home, and you're not in the middle of a country where everybody's trying to kill you, nothing really matters anymore compared to the way it mattered when you were in the middle of a war. Everything mattered so much, and now suddenly nothing matters at all. And that, he said, is extremely hard to get used to. For example, why should I get up in the morning? Why should I get out of bed? Over there, if I had to get out of bed, I had to get out of bed because we were fighting a war. Over here, what happens if I don't get out of bed? Nothing. And if I do get out of bed, nothing. Nothing happens. Let's say I do get out of bed. What do? I brush my teeth, start my day. What? Nothing happens. Let's say even I go into business, make some money. Nothing happens. Make more money, less money. It's not comparable to when you're at war. You get up because if you don't get up, you'll never get up. And then he said something like this. He said, the depression of a lot of soldiers who come back from war, they get depressed, it happens very, very often, almost all the time, has to do with this idea that suddenly life is not urgent anymore, but more importantly, friendships are not urgent anymore. And this is key. And I actually asked him whether it would be possible for soldiers who come back from war to use their experience to teach people how to be friends. He says, in war, you are willing to die for what they call their buddies. You're willing to die for your friend. And you know that your friend is willing to die for you. And it's not just some kind of a theoretical statement, because any day, at any moment, you might actually have to do it. So you learn to trust each other, to depend on each other, to be there for each other. You become so attached to your friends. You become so connected. Your life depends on him, and his life depends on you. And your friendship is eternal. There is nothing that could ever do anything to undo that friendship, because it was so real, it was so urgent. Then you come back to peace, come back to America. And people who, before the war, before you left, they were your friends, so to speak. And they see you and they say, hey, what's up? And it's so hollow. It's so hollow. Because they talk like friends. They talk to you like friends. But they would never do anything for you, let alone die for you. They don't even know what that means. So Joey and Johnny and Stevie all go, hey, what's up? Welcome back. What happened? How was the war? Did you shoot anybody? And you realize that when life is not urgent, and you don't feel that anything matters, friendships don't matter either. A person says to you, oh, I'm your best friend in the whole world. Yeah? Really? So would you die for me? Well, I don't know about die for you. That's a little extreme, but I'm your best friend. I'd go out to dinner with you. Really? Go out to dinner with me. Psh, that is Mesidas Nefesh. And yet, when you come back to peace, that's the extent of it. What are friendships? What are friendships and peace? Hang out together. Study together. Be together. Have fun together. Friends doesn't mean anything. Compared to war, when your friend says to you, I'm your best friend, he means if a grenade falls next to us and one of us has to pick it up to try to get rid of it, or one of us has to fall on it, I'll fall on it. I'm your best friend. And then what does it mean in peace? If we go to a coffee and we buy coffee and someone has to pay $1.25, I'll pay $1.25. Okay, that's friendship. This is Nefesh. I would do anything for you, up to $2. Like Achashverosh says to Queen Esther. You know how much you mean to me? I would do almost anything for you. Up to half the kingdom. You realize what a ridiculous statement that is? Some people would think of it as to say, he is offering Esther half of his kingdom. It's amazing. That's a big half, because he ruled the whole world. But on the other hand, she is his wife. I would give you almost everything I have. I'll give you half of everything I have. So you know what you mean to me? You mean to me like almost half of everything in the world. You mean almost everything to me. You mean a little bit to me. That's basically what it's saying. So friends, in times of peace, they look at each other, they say, you know what, Bobby? You mean very little to me. Very little. You mean a little bit. You don't mean nothing. You mean a little bit. Maybe $5 worth. And he says, this is so depressing. You come back from war where people are willing to die for each other, and here people aren't willing to do anything for each other. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but only a bit of an exaggeration. Here people are willing to help each other out, you know what I mean? They'll help each other out, even maybe hard favors. But when you're talking about compare that to life and death, it's a joke. Now you know what the Jews felt like after Haman was hanged. When Haman was alive and he was threatening to kill all the Jewish people, chas v'shalom, the Jewish people felt that whatever they do, any choice that they make, matters a lot. But as soon as Haman died and suddenly there's no threat anymore, life got boring very, very quickly. Life got very boring. And Mordechai's job at that point got very, very hard. How do you take people that were so motivated just 2 weeks ago? I will die for my Judaism. I would die before bowing to Haman. I would die before doing anything for Haman. Oh, Haman's dead? Okay, I won't die for anything. Haman's dead. What do I have to die for anything? Let me go live my life. How do you take people that used to be so motivated, and now they have no motivation at all? Now they don't want anybody to bother them. Now they just want to live their peaceful lives. This was exactly the problem that the Rebbe had when the Chassidim came out of Russia. Chassidim were willing to die for their friends in Russia. But you come to America, you come to peace, and there's nothing to die for. So here's my question to you guys, 8th graders. How many of you, without raising your hands, just be honest with yourself, how many of you have ever thought to yourself, and please don't raise your hands because it'll ruin it. Well, you can raise your hands now, but don't raise your hands after I ask you the question. How many of you are honest enough to admit to yourselves that at one point or another you said to yourself, what is the point of all of this? What is the point of all of this? What is the point if I get up in the morning, don't get up in the morning? What is the difference whether I do well on my test, I don't do well on my test? But most importantly, my friends, what is the difference whether I am a friend or I'm not a friend? It's different. It doesn't matter. Guys, if you want to boil down what life is all about to one question and one question only, this is the question. Do your friends matter to you or do they not? And I know that some of you, when you're dealing with 8th grade, and with this I mean this with all respect, and I speak to each of one of you as individuals and not as a group. But when you're dealing with 8th grade, it's a very funny time, and I'll tell you why. Because half of 8th grade is in 6th grade and half of 8th grade is in 10th grade. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Half of 8th grade doesn't realize that they finished 6th grade. And half of 8th grade doesn't realize that they're not yet in 10th grade. Half of 8th grade is still clinging to their childhood, and the other half of 8th grade is already 18 years old. You get some serious thoughts once in a while when you're in 8th grade. Things that don't happen to you when you're in 7th grade. There are no serious thoughts in 7th grade. But there are some mighty serious thoughts crossing through the heads of kids in 8th grade. And one of those thoughts is, what is the difference? Does it matter whether I'm a friend or does it not matter? The Rebbe, who gave his life, gave his entire life for us, wanted more than anything else, and continues to want more than anything else, that we should think and we should believe, we should feel that these things matter. I'm not even talking about Yiddishkeit. Whether Yiddishkeit matters or doesn't matter, even for Emunah, that's not the discussion, that's not a question. The question is, do your friends matter? Does your day matter? Today is Gimel Teves. Does it matter to you whether Gimel Teves Tavshin Ayin Hey is a good day for you or a waste of a day for you? Does it matter? If the sun sets on Gimel Teves Tavshin Ayin Hey and you haven't accomplished anything seriously admirable from your standpoint, according to your level, if Gimel Teves Tavshin Ayin Hey actually turns out to be a huge waste of time, does that matter? To most kids, it doesn't matter at all. To most kids, if one day turns out to be a waste of time, and the next day turns out to be a waste of time, and the next day is a waste of time, and I don't accomplish something day after day after day, for most kids, it doesn't matter. Not only for most kids, it doesn't matter. For most adults, it doesn't matter. Because when you live in times of peace like we do, or Hashem, things in general don't matter very much. And that is the challenge, my friends, that out of you 40 people here, or 30 people here, there should be 5, 6, 7, however many bachim, who without going and praying about it, without making speeches about it, without talking to people about it, just deep in your own heart, you decide that your friendship with other people, however many real friends you have, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, that your friendship really matters. That without this friendship, it's not a matter of, okay, I'll find a different friend, or I'll find another friend, or I won't have a friend. It doesn't matter. Those 3 words, it doesn't matter, very dangerous words for people in general, and especially for 8th graders. It does matter. Every day of your life matters, and every friend that you have matters. You know, I could tell you stories, I'm sure that your parents could tell you stories about friendships that saved lives even here in America, even in peacetime. A lot of the problems that a lot of people have as adults are simply not because they're bad people or because anything, simply because in 8th grade and in 9th grade, they didn't bother to make any real friends. You know, when you're in 4th grade, you say to yourself, I'll shape up in 5th grade. When you're in 5th grade, you say that about 6th grade. 8th grade is the end of the line, my friends. It's not even the year of your bar mitzvah anymore. You make friends now. You make serious friends now. Now, maybe you have 9th grade. That's it, but that's it. 8th grade, 9th grade, this is where your best friendships are made. And the best friendships, by the way, are usually between 1, 2, 3, or 4 people. Maybe 5. But not everybody in the class is my best friend. You know, if that's the truth, you must be a tzaddik gomer. But if you're a normal person, a real friendship you have with 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. And then, when you have a real friendship, a friendship that matters, a friendship where you would literally do anything for your friend. Not just pay $1.25 so they can have a soda, but literally you would do anything for them. Once you have a friendship like that with your friends, then you have an amazing power. And that power is, you can reach out to a kid who doesn't know how to make friends, and you can make him part of your friendship, and you can save his life. And that is not an exaggeration. So when this Chassid of Abba saved his friends' lives by being their friend, by being ready to suffer so that his friends would not suffer. How many times do we have an opportunity to do that every day? We do have chances to do that. Maybe not to the extent of having arms and legs, chas v'shalom, broken. But we have a chance almost every day to choose whether we'll suffer or a friend will suffer. And it starts with little things. And you have a chance all the time to do it. Who's going to bend? Remember that story where somebody dropped a note on the floor and the Rebbe picked it up. And the Chassid apologized to the Rebbe for making the Rebbe bend down. And the Rebbe said, you don't have to apologize. That is my whole life, is picking up what people have dropped and forgotten. It's such a simple story, but it's such a hard thing to do. Imagine if you say to yourself, you know what my life is from now on? I'm going to make it my mission to pick up what other people dropped and what other people forgot. I know that most people are not willing to bend down to pick up what other people drop. Whether it means physically, or whether it means being friends with a kid that everybody else has dropped and forgotten about. They say, why should I have to do it? Nobody else is doing it, why should I do it? That was the Rebbe's attitude. The Rebbe was the greatest man in the entire world, and getting made it his business to hang out and to befriend people that would be called in 8th grade major losers. And that's why people loved him. And that's why he was able to change the world. So people, 8th grade is here. It has arrived. It's time to make some very serious friends. At least 1. And then when you have friendship, a real friendship with at least 1 person, you have the power, the 2 of you, to include other people in your friendship and to make them feel like they matter as well. And I know that these words are hard to take seriously, but that's only for some of you. For the rest of you, or for some of you, these words, you understand how serious this is. A good friendship could save your life. Could definitely save the life of the person who you befriend. And so to summarize, the words, it doesn't matter, should be for you like I read his letter. If somebody says to you, why didn't you do well on your test? And you say, come on, it doesn't matter. It does matter. But not only tests matter. Every choice that you make matters. So get those 3 words, that phrase out of your vocabulary. Don't let your friend say it doesn't matter. If your friend says it doesn't matter, don't say that. Because when somebody says about themselves, it doesn't matter, it's dangerous words. They're saying they don't matter. That's dangerous. So, friends, don't let friends say it doesn't matter. Make sure that you let your friend know that it does matter, that their choices do matter, And what they do matters, and when they win it matters, when they lose it matters, when they have a good day it matters, and when they have a bad day it matters as well.